Welcome back, everyone. In this video, what we're going to do is add to our controls. So we've done labels, we've done text boxes, we've done buttons, and some other things. But in this video, what we're going to do is add 5 more different types of controls. And you can see here, I'll just get a pen. This gray shadow box around here is called a group box. Okay, so that's one of the controls, and inside the controls, there's the group box, you see radio buttons. And what that does is when they're inside a group box, they select one or the other, or you can make an actual selection. And we have this one here. This is referred to as a list box. Okay, so it's literally what it is, a box with a list of things in it. And here you can see there's a little drop down arrow that is a combo box or combination box. Okay, there's this other one here, which is a check box. Okay, so that's five new ones right there. And we still got buttons here. We still have labels. This one's just a text box. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to build out this application today with each and every one of those. So I'm here in my Visual Studio. I've got C#, Windows Desktop, and Windows Forms app.NET Framework. So I'll go to Next. I'm just going to call this one Payment. Okay, and I will save it. Place the solution and project in the same directory. Okay. In fact, I'll change that to Payment Form. And I'll do a create. It'll just take a second. And this is the form that I get. And immediately what I'm going to do, just to make sure there's no problems with my IDE, I'm just going to build without debugging, or start without debugging. And there it is. Here's the form. Everything's fine so far. So it looks like I've moved some stuff around here. I need to have my properties open. So I'll go to View, and I'm looking for Properties window right down at the bottom. And I will pin this to here. And I don't like where that is, so I want it inside. That's not right. And the way I need to pin this is just really highlight the top bar of my Solution Explorer, and you can see now I've got both of them in there. So Properties and Solution Explorer. And so right away, what I want to do is change the name of this from Form 1 to Payment. Okay. And that changed the name of the form. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to build out the entire application here. I'll speed it up so you're not watching me type, because it's more painful for me to do than it is for you to watch, but I'll do you the favor. So I'm going to just build out everything here, and you'll be able to see what I'm doing, because I want to focus more on the code than I do on building out a GUI that doesn't function. Okay. But before we do this, don't forget that in my toolbox over here on the side, sometimes these will be closed. Okay, and if I open them up, you'll get all Windows forms. So you'll get everything. But what you can do is just kind of narrow those tools down a little bit. Okay, instead of looking at each and every single one of them. Okay, so at the moment, what I'm looking for is, if I look at my common ones, I'm not seeing my group box. And notice that they are alphabetical order. But I don't see the group box, so I guess I'll have to go to all. I'm sure it's in one of the other ones. And I go down to G, and there's my group box. So I'm going to put that in there first. Okay. I want to talk a little bit though about the group box. And all it was is, I dragged group box over from right here. And I'm going to call this one. So I've got two things, right? I'm going to call this one billing. Okay, so it'll change the name of the group box to billing. Okay, but up here I'm gonna leave group box like this, and I'll call it billing. So that's the label that I'm giving it to, group box billing. And one thing about a group box is that if you have controls on your screen already, you can't drag the group box over top of it. So it is literally a box. You have to put controls inside of it. Okay, so for now, what I want to do is add more controls inside the group box, but I have to pick and drag them into that box. And I'm going to go get my two radio boxes. Radio buttons, sorry. And so now that I have those controls inside that, I want you to see something. Anything that's inside that box gets moved when I move the actual box itself. So I'm going to pick the first one here. And I think for these new ones, I'm probably going to talk my way through it. And this is going to be RDO, credit card. Okay, and I will grab this because I need to change its name. So down in the text field. Okay, so I've changed this one here. And this will be RDO bill customer. Okay. So this becomes a bit of a relationship, and we're going to see when I look at my the values that I'm setting these to, they will eventually be set to checked. And if I look in right here, it says checked. I can set these are Booleans, right? And I can they're both Boolean controls. And so if I change that checked here to true, and then I go ahead and I run this, you can see that it becomes a one or the other relationship. It is either credit card or bill customer. It's one of the two scenarios. So I'm going to undo those for a minute, because what I'm doing by selecting those two checked right now. Okay, so that one's false. And where's my other checked? Okay, they're both false. So if I put the first one on there to true, what it's doing is it's going to default that one to true. Okay, so it's default right now to true. So the next one I'm going to put in is my list box. You can just kind of eyeball that one anywhere I want. And my list box, I'm going to have to name that one. And this one's going to be LST. Okay, I'll just leave it as list box. List box and credit card type. It's my list box of credit card type. And down here, so there's something neat we can do with this list box. Is you can see there's this little tiny triangle here. You can click on this and enter the item. So we're going to say Visa. So it says enter the string in the collection, one per line. MasterCard and American Express. So I'll say Amex. Okay, and hit OK. And let's just have a look at this. Okay, and you can see that this is the list in the box. Okay, and you can select one over the other. And there's no name here. I have to actually put a label on this one. Okay, so you can see it, when you get into the properties, there's no text that I can replace with this. Okay, so it's the name, but I have to actually put a label on it. Okay, so also I don't think I really care much for the look of that. So I'm going to edit the sort of layout of the box. I need enough space for a label. Okay, and I suppose I can just line it all up. And I need a label. This one is LBL, and it is credit card box. Or sorry, not box type. I shouldn't be doing any editing of this later. Credit card type with a colon. And line that up to the top. Okay, so that's fine. And the next one's just a text box. And if I go to here, I've got a text box. I'll line it up right there. And we know this one needs a label. And a little bit of editing. Okay. So we'll go down to the next thing that we need. We're going to need these other boxes here. I need a label for the next one. And this is really going to be a label for 2 items. And you'll see here, I'll put this as, if I can pick that, this will be LBL, LBL. And it'll say expire. Sorry. Okay. Break. So I need to put the label in there for this particular box, and this will be LBL and expiration date. Okay. We're probably not going to do any coding with that anyway. So if I go to my text, expiration date, put the colon, and that's fine there. But now I need these 2 other boxes. And so I'll go get this combo box right here and just eyeball it like that. And this one we're going to call it CBO. CBO for combo. So expiration month. Grab that. And I can try, I was going to copy that and go down and, where do I put that in there? But there is more to this particular story as well. So with these combo boxes, it lets you actually select one item from a list that you create, but it also can let you type in an item as well. Okay, so this one is going to be expiration date, and we're going to do select a month, and then the other one will be select a year. And inside here for text, I'm going to write the message, select a month. And that's what I'm going to write inside that, so that when we look at the box itself, you can see that I've got the label on the side, but then I've got select a month on the inside. And this is a drop down, right? And so I'll do a copy of this and then I'll make some changes to it. And I think before I go much further, what I would like to do is just make the whole thing a bit smaller. It doesn't need to be as large as it is. Just have to move things around gently. I just think that it's too big. Okay. So when I go to this one, I don't want it to say select a month. I want it to say select a year. Okay. And it's not combo box 1, it's CBO. And what did I call my other one? Expiration month. And this one will be, I'll just copy it and change this one to CBO expiration year. Okay, I've got an actual checkbox that I want to put in here now too. So we've got checkbox and checked list box. I just want the checkbox right down here. And this one is, it's, I think a CHB is what I typically call this, CHB. Okay. Actually, it's not CHB, it is CHK for checked. And this one I'm just going to leave as default. Okay, and that's what the book says anyway to label this one. But when I go down to where my text is, it's not going to be labeled like this. It's going to say, in my text, it's going to say set as default billing method. Okay, and so that should change there. That's fine. And now I have two buttons that I want to put, OK and cancel. Okay, so if I go up to here and I'm going to type in a button, and this is going to be BTN. Or sorry, this will be button OK. Sorry, OK. And copy that. And we'll say cancel. Now with that, we want to put the underline in there, right? So BTN cancel. So if I have it just like that with the cancel, there's no underline there. I want to be able to change that. And the way I do that is I go back down to my text, and just before the C or before the letter that you want to underline, you can just put the ampersand in front of it. Okay. I think I'll just move that over a little bit. Make that look a little neater. Okay, so let's just quickly, let's do a save all and start this. And let's just have a look at it. Okay, so it looks okay according to plan. Does it do anything? Clearly not. These go from one to the other. These drop down, but they're empty. And these I can scroll through. Okay, there's nothing going on in my credit card number right now. Okay. But the one thing I do think I need to do is take this label out, or just leave it. I can just do this, enter credit card number. All right, so that text there will be something you can type over. However, I've compiled this to have a look at it, and you can see this label's in here. It doesn't really, do what I want it to do. I don't want to have to delete that and then go in. So we're going to change that property too, eventually. Okay, it does nothing. All right, and I'm going to go back in here and I'll just clear out that text just for now. Okay, so that's just an empty box. And the other thing I definitely want to change is I want to center align that, because I'm getting tired of having to move it around. And that's just here in our start position. I'll set that to center screen so that when we run this, it's in the center of our screen. So everything there looks kind of the way I'm hoping it looks, and basically it's the way the book is saying to do it too. So really quickly, I want to talk about the different properties we're going to have with the list box and the combo box, and then some of the events that we're likely to see. And so when we look at these properties for both the list box and the combo box, you've got selected index, selected item, text sorted items, drop down style, and selection mode. And these are the common ones that you typically can deal with for these two types of boxes. And then the events that we're likely to encounter are selected, index changed, and text change. So let's go back in and have a look at how those work. Okay, so what I want to do is actually go in and look at what's going on in my code. So if I go to this first one, this billing radio button here, I'll go into here and I want to scroll down, open this up a little bit, and you can start to see this is everything that we have set here, right? So this is our group box, our radio button, which is our credit card. Okay, and what I want you to see is that we have radio, it should be radio credit card dot checked. Okay, and it's right here on line 62, and that's set to true. Okay, so if we go down to the other one we have, let's go down to here. Okay, it's not checked. And this one is our default. So if we scroll down and we look for default, there it is. Okay, and we're not seeing that as our default checked to true. And it's not even in the list, right? So if I go back out to here and I look for this, I click on this, I go to my properties and I change this to true. Let's save that. And then let's go in and see if it actually changed it. Okay, so if we're at default, you can see right here now, it added this line. So it's set to true. Okay. So that's one change I wanted to make, but I wanted to again go over that and make sure that you can go back and forth. This is the way we do all those, build all the graphics in code. And this is the easy way, which is to simultaneously see how it is all laid out. You know, the picture says 1,000 words here, but this writes the code in the background for us, which is really good. And you can see here now the default is that it has the check mark in the form itself. I do now want to spend some time talking about the different properties of some of these boxes. And I guess I can start with this one here, our list box or combo box, sorry. What's unique about this one here is that it does default. So if we go to drop down style over on the right, the default is drop down, but there's a couple of options. There's simple. There is what we've had, the drop down. And then lastly, there's the drop down list. And you see the color changes. So when I actually go and start without debugging, you can see there's a difference, right? This one's, there's no data populated in there, and notice there's no label in there. And then this one here is looking for something. Okay, so if I go cancel this and I go back, I'll just reset that to drop down. So that's the default for that one. So in this one, the user does have the option to type information in, but if you want to restrict that, what you can do is reset your drop down style. So if you don't want them to type in anything, you just want to see what's selected from the list, that's where we would use the drop down list. Okay, so you can see there's no way to type anything in with this one, but you can with the other. And when you see it grayed out, that typically implies that it's not something you can type to, you can only select from. So another good one in here is our list box. We've got this selection mode, and right now it's set to 1, which means I can only click one at a time. But I've got other options here. If I go to multi-simple, okay, multi-simple, you can click all of the entries one at a time. and it will select all of them. But if you change it to multi-extended, then I can use my control buttons to click the whole entire list from top to bottom. So it allows you to use your control key. So that's really the only big difference. And so I'll set it to 1 again. And of course I can select none. So which means the user can't select anything, they can only just view it. Okay, so if we run this, I can't select any of that stuff. I can only view it, okay? And let's do one where, let's do the multi, just, or this one here. And now this one, I can select multiple ones. And the other one is just using the control button, like I said. So I do want to kind of look at this for a minute again. This Visa, MasterCard, Amex inside the list box. You know, I typed those in before, but you have to understand that these are actually part of something called a collection. And when I'm in this box and I go down to items, I've got this collection and I can click on that, and that's where I can type in anything, right? And I think the way I did it before is I clicked on here, I did an edit of items, and then I put that information in there. But you can reference that over here in these items, okay? So another thing here that I do want to look at. So when I go into my Solution Explorer and I'm in my form designer, you know, note that now I've got that list that I've created, right? These items, add range, new object. So this list of stuff is in here from when I typed it in, when I used this edit item. So it's called a string collection editor. And I can do the same thing down here too. So month. And I can add that there. So what I'll do is I'll type that in. So I've typed all that in. That's my whole list. One at a time. It says 1 per line. And I'm going to hit OK. Okay. And I go back to here and I should be able to scroll down and find it right there in my this new range. So I've got that whole entire range in here. Okay. Okay. So I want to break. So I want to actually go in and do some coding here because I've got the drop down. So if I build this, start without debugging, you should see that this is populated now as an option. Okay, so you can see I can select the month that I want to select, but I've got nothing for the year. Okay, so that's blank. So these are just some of the things that I wanted to kind of show you at a sort of macro level. And now what we're going to do is actually go in, work on some functionality, but I do want to add a second form to this because so far all we've done is worked in one form. Now I want to go in and start adding a second form to this. So I'm actually going to change this one to be called, I got to rename this, and I'll right click on here. And this one is going to be called form payments. Okay. So I'll go down to here, rename, and this is going to be what do I call it? FRM payments. Okay, that's the name of that form from now on. And I get this thing, it says, you are renaming a file. Would you like to perform a rename in the project of all references to the code element form 1? And I'm going to say yes. So I definitely want to have that. Okay, and you can see here that even this has changed, the name of my designer. So that stuff has changed. Okay. And I'm going to click on, I'm going to go into OK, double click on OK. And I'm going to come back to this OK, but I just wanted to create that event so I can get into this file because it's the first time we're going to see the CS file. So I'm going to save that. Okay, because now I got to go in and make another form and then build out that other form. So to add another form to this, what we're going to do is you'll right click on here to this on the project and you do add, and you're going to say add new item. Okay, so when you get this dialog box, what we're looking for is an actual form. Okay, and what's kind of bizarre is I'm not initially seeing it right away, but it's in here. So you have to be careful that you're actually selecting the right box, okay? So we're going to do this one here, the very first one, not the actual solution. So make sure you're not selecting solution. It's go to this one and say, you right click on it, add new item, and you'll find that it's in here, add new form, okay? And you should see C# over here, okay? And if I select it on this Windows Forms, I'm just looking right here. So Windows Forms, form, Windows Form right here, okay? And I'm gonna give that one a new name. And this one is going to be called Customers, okay? Customers. And it'll add the right file extension for you. Okay, so we've got this new form now. So when I minimize everything that's going on, you see that I have two forms now. I've got customers forms and I've got my payments form. And in reality, I should have named that properly. I should have added FRM for form. So FRM. And I'll put that in front of it. And I should get the, yep. And I hit yes. So now I've got two forms, customers and payments. Okay, so now let's go ahead and build that out. And you see that it's labeled customers already, right? And so I need to go in and now design the look of this particular form. Okay, so what's going to be in this one? It looks to me like we're going to want customer name, payment methods, and select payment, a save, and an exit. So I'm going to go ahead and build this out and you can follow along. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to need is a combo box. I'm going to put that in here. Okay, and let's go look at the settings for this. So this will be a combo box, and I'm going to call this one CBO names. Okay. And I want to look at the settings on here. And the settings for this is going to be a drop-down list. Okay, and you see that it's actually, it made it go gray. And I got to add a label to that. So we'll call this customer name. Sorry. Yeah, name, space, name. So the customer's name is in there. And notice I just clicked on it and I started typing and it did start to work. But I'm going to take that and copy and paste that. I'm going to add a couple of buttons to the form itself. Now I need to put a label here, but this is a special kind of a label, okay? And so let me go just put the information. So this will be LBL and it will be payment. Okay. But don't worry, we're not going to actually put a name on this one. Okay. Or sorry, a text. We're not adding text to this one. Okay, but we're going to get to this. Because with this text, what I want to do is set this actually to just to a string, an empty string. Okay, so you can see that it's going away. All right. And in fact, I can't type that in because you see that it shows up. So when I say I want to set it to an empty string, if I try to do that, that is exactly what's going to print out there. So in order to do that, I can just leave it blank. Okay. But I don't want to lose track of it, right? because, you know, when I go up to here, I've lost track of it. So I have to put that in there first. I'll keep that in there and make sure that my label stayed fine. But I want to change the properties on this. Okay, so when I go to this, I want to go to border style. And within border style, I'm going to say fixed 3D. Okay, so that's one piece. And then auto size. Let's go to auto size right above it. And what I'm going to do is set that to false. Okay. And then what's the next thing I want to do with that? I think that's okay. And I'm going to actually make it bigger. All right. And I'm going to realign this a little bit, change the formatting somewhat. Maybe move this out to here and move up these buttons. Maybe, I think. Yeah, let's just make this a little better. And now I'm going to change the size of the actual box. Okay, because I think the box is too big. So those are the things that I want to have on it. Okay. But I think I'm missing one more thing. And it's another label on this screen. So I'm going to just put this label right above the box. And I'm going to put in the text like this. So payment method. And I'll do this LBL payment method. There. So I've got that. And now I can go back to this and just change that text and get rid of the string. Okay. And so there it is. So this is all that the form is doing and all that it really looks like. So if I look at the size of this, here's a way that I can actually just go in and manipulate the entire size of this. So I can say 233 and 92 as an example. And you can see that the box, that's the actual size of that label box that I just created, which is not what I want to do, right? I actually want to be on the form box. So you have to be careful that you're selecting the right thing. So this will be 424, comma, 285. Okay. So, you know, I can tighten all that stuff up if I want to do that. So, but for now, I can just leave it the way it was. Unless I'm really picky and I want to make it smaller. Okay. I can move everything over here. Select my individual items just to clean that look up a little bit. I guess to here. And then you can see the coordinates start to change when I manually move the box around. So if I want the box to be 424, I can just kind of guesstimate a little. But if you look down here on the bottom, right down here, it tells you the actual size of the box in real time as you're moving it. So if I wanted it to be 424, right there is 424. And then the height, if I wanted 285, I could go just like that. Okay, so I can see what I'm trying to do with the all the coordinates here. Okay, now I want to look at a couple of the properties here. Okay, so first off, I do want this one to be center screened. Okay, and I go to my start position for that. I got to be selecting the form itself, and then start position, I want that in the center again. And then if I go to my exit button, this one here, what I want to do is change that property. Okay, and to change the property, I can go up to, I'm looking for it in here, the cancel button, but we're going to probably have to come back to that. So if I'm in exit, and one thing I can do when I'm actually on there is this, it's got this button here, it says dialog result. So the dialog box result produces in a modal form by clicking the button. And what I can do is actually click on this one, and I can set that to cancel. Okay, for that particular box there. So I'm gonna just run this really quick, see if there's any issues. Now, this one is not opening up, and there's a good reason for that, and we're gonna get to that soon enough, okay? So none of these things here work, but it compiles, and we'll get to the reason why that's not opening up yet. So, we compiled this thing here, and what we ended up getting was not that. We ended up getting this as our initial opening form. Okay, and so if we look at this file here, it says programs.cs. Okay, and let's go back to this for a minute and look at the design. This form is actually our payment form. And so when I go back to here, you see that my form payments is what opens up. That's the first thing to open up. So if I go into here and I actually change this to, let's just see if the IntelliSense will do it. So it'll be FRM, and I've got two choices because I have two forms. So I'm going to go to form customers. Okay, and let's see if it actually allows it. I don't see any errors, but now if I go to debug this and I start without debugging, you see that that's the form that now opens up. Okay, and I've got really nothing going on. I have no information, okay? And if I click exit, even that's not enabled right now. Okay, so we're gonna have to go in and figure that piece out. But I'm going to want to be able to connect this button here over to the first form that we made originally. So that's really the goal that we're trying to achieve between different forms. We need a button to get from one place to another. And of course, it's calling the run method right here to do that. Okay, and really every time I do this, you have to understand I'm actually instantiating that form. Okay, you can see the keyword new here. Every time I run this, I'm actually instantiating the word, okay, or the form itself. Now, keep in mind, this is slightly different than something you may have seen before. Last time we've done a message box. It's kind of it's a dialog box in itself, right? So that's a form that pops up as a result of an event. And so that is actually called a modal form. That's not a typical form like we've just created. That's a modal form when you open up a dialog box, like a message that pops up when you hit, "Are you sure you want to cancel?" Something like that. But we can actually go in and now set these as a dialog box. Okay, so this customer form can become a dialog box of payment. And this here is really truly the modal form. Okay, so there's slight distinctions, but it's important that you do understand them. So if I take this customer and I click an event and it pops up, that's my modal form. So when I hit this select payment, the other box is going to open up as a modal form. I want to go back into this and actually clean a few things up here. I want to edit this and take everything out of there because I'm going to do that using code. Okay, and you can see that my is credit card type is the only thing that's in there right now. Okay. I want to update a couple of properties of the form itself. So the form, I want to just click on the form and I've got the cancel button here. But if I go to here, this cancel button, it's set to none right now. I want to change this to button cancel. Okay. And it's already it should be in the start position. I believe we've already set it to start position is center of the screen, which is good. And you can also see the accept button. So I'm still in my form and I go to accept button and I'm going to say button OK. Now control box. Okay, I'm still in my form and I'll go to control box and I'm going to set this to false. Okay, it's one of two settings. Do I get the little window that tells me, gives me good info? So determines whether a form has a control system menu box. Okay, and you can see when I have this control box, it disappears. So let's look at the top. And let's check control box one more time. So if I double click on that, it changes to true. But notice at the top, I've got the minimize, maximize, and turn it off. So if I set that to false, that disappears. Okay, and so the minimize box If we go down to here, minimize box, we set that to false. You can't minimize that as well. And then our form border style is, we've got it as sizable, but I want to change that to fixed dialog. Okay, and so what that means is that indicates the appearance of behavior of the border and title bar in the form. Okay, so that's just a fixed dialog box right in there, okay? And I want to change these to their default, their drop down. Okay, so I've got it, my month and my year. I'd like to actually put those to drop down list. Okay, so if I go to drop down style right here, I'm going to put that to drop down list for both of them. Okay, and you can see that they both get shaded out. Okay, is there anything I want to do? I want to change with credit card number. I think the only one thing I want to change with OK is just to add the ampersand. That's all. And you can see it puts the line underneath. So I should probably do a save all. And I want to go and confirm the other box too. I just want to make sure that everything in my other box is still good. Okay, so what I'm going to do though is I'm going to start off in this one here. This will be my opening up page. Okay, and the first thing I want to do is actually go into my event handler. So you need to go to the event here and go down to where it says load. Okay, and you can double click on this. All right, and this creates this load event. And I want to take this one out because I used that before. You know, it's going to cause me an error. That's okay, because I know how to get rid of that. Go to here. And there's other ways to get rid of those, but that's the fastest, to be perfectly honest. Okay, so I'm in the code, and what I'm going to do with this load event is I'm actually going to put that on pause for a second, because I want to go back to the actual design. Okay, because I got a couple of other events that I need to make first. Okay, so we've got to do the close. Now, if we look at this, I'm looking for close. Okay, so I don't see my close event in this list. Okay, but I do know that it's already here on the exit. So if I double click exit, it creates this event. Okay. And this one, the good thing about it, it's the easiest one that we ever have. Okay, so that one's just this dot close. Okay, and that's all that one is. Right, I'm going to save that, and we're eventually going to, this one should probably end up closer to the bottom anyway, so I'll put some space in there. And then I've got other events that I need to put in there. Okay, so we've got the exit one, we've got the load one, and what about some of the others? Well, I actually need this form closing. Okay, so there's this one here that we have to do. And you've got form closed and formed closing. And I want the form closing. So if I double click on that, you can see it's this form closing. Okay, so that's another one that we have. And this one, I'm actually going to move it above. So I can highlight that, do Alt up arrow, and just push that up above. Okay. And, you know, just so everyone knows, I'm not making up the code. I'm just walking you through it. This is all in the Mirac book under chapter 10. Okay. And all this code is in there. So just so you understand what's going to happen, you know, we have information about the customer. It's in there somewhere. And we need to have this global variable now. And it's going to be called is data saved. And that's going to be a Boolean. And I'll put this right in here. I want to put it where I initialize this component. I want to be outside of that and then before all of my methods. And just remember, we're still inside the form customers class. Okay. And so this is global, and this is a bool. And it's just going to be is data saved. Okay. And we're going to set this to true. That's all we're going to do with this line of code for now. We'll end up needing it later on. So I need an event for this here when we we have the customer name and we have the drop down or we change the customer's name, I actually need an event for that. And what I'm going to do is I actually have two of them. I have a customer name. Let's see if we go up here and we find customer. It's in the customer name dialog box for sure. But down here, it is going to be selected. Sorry, not selected yet. Selected index changed. Sorry. There's a lot of them here, right? So what I want to do is address that. And then for this one here, I can go and do something as well. And this one's going to be the text changed. Okay, so the text in here is going to change. And so if I highlight this box and I double click on it, this gives me my text changed. Okay. And I guess maybe I should just have put that down at the bottom. And I'll go back and I'll do the other one too. Okay, so we have this one, and that one was the selected indexed change. So we go down to here, selected indexed changed. And so we have both of those there. Okay. And I think what I'm going to do, this one's going to bug me a little bit, having to keep moving this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete it. I'll go to my errors. Sorry. I'll go to this file. I'm going to take it out because it's just going to be in my way the whole time. Okay. So what have I got so far? I've got load and I've got text changed. I'll move these up just so we can kind of sequentially follow what's going on. Okay, and next I want to have this selected index. Okay, I'm going to take that and just move it into here. And then below that, I've got form closing. Now I've got to do select payment click. Okay, so I've got to deal with the button, the select payment click. Okay. And the way I'll do that is I go back to here and double click on that. And so I've got select payment clicked. Okay, and I want to move this one up too. Okay. And of course I want to have an event when I save that button there. Okay, so that save button has been clicked. Okay. And then we're going to just do some of our own methods after. We'll just create our own methods, but they're not events. Okay, and then this is where now probably it's appropriate to go and address this exit. So I click that and I'll put them at the bottom there. Okay, so those are really, according to the book, those are all the methods that we're going to do inside of this particular form. Okay, and so I'm going to save that. And I have two other methods that I have to make myself. Okay, and these ones are just going to be after the save click. So if we look at save clicked right here, we can do a method right after that. And this is not an event. This structure or definition wasn't made for me. I'm doing it myself. So this method is a private, and the data type is a void. And we're just going to call it save data. Okay, and just create the outline to that. And now there's another one that I actually need, and this one is a Boolean. Okay, so let me give more space here. I need this Boolean. This is going to be, again, private bool. And we're going to say is valid. Is valid data method call. Sorry, get rid of the 0 and put this in here. Okay, so that's what I need for that one there. And I'm getting this error, but that's okay. Don't worry about that so much. And one of the reasons I'm probably getting this error is this return. Sorry. Okay, it's just to put this return type in there because it's a Boolean. It's looking for a return type. And if you put in just return true, it'll clear that error. And it's the same thing in a lot of other .NET frameworks as well. Okay, and I'm going to move this one here all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so let's just move that to here. Okay, and that should clear everything up. And that's really the structure of all the methods that I want to do inside this particular form. So now what I want to do is actually go over to the other form and set up all of that structure as well. So, just to be clear, it's important to understand that relationship between the two, right? We're dealing with an object that is being acted on by an event. Okay, and down here, what we're doing is saying, no, just go in and write a function or a method. This is just a straight method that we will use inside of one of these other ones. So if, obviously this one here that I'm writing is probably going to get used in there. Okay, so let's go over to the other form that we've got. And we should go into this and start setting up all of those event handlers as well. So we're in the form right now. And this one is really assigned to the form itself. And so when I go to the form, I click on that, I'm in load, and I double click on that, you can see that it's giving me the form payments, stop. Yeah, so it's, my form payments load. And that's what that's giving me right there. And eventually I'll have to move everything around on here too. Okay. And so we'll end up doing that one as well. That one I'm actually going to move down now. Alternate. Okay, just move that down. Let's go see what else is there, because I know I'm actually going to need this other method called private. Okay, they're all it's private bool. Okay, and is valid data. Okay, that's a method. We'll put my brackets in there. I'm getting my error, and again, it's looking for a return true. It might be a return false, but until you get to the coding, you don't know that. So give some space there. And I've got to do another one. Right off the bat, I know is right here. This is going to be private void and save data. Private void save data, and put in my brackets. Now, what about this one? I've got a check mark, right? What does that mean? So if I double click on this one, it gives me this checked. There's this event handler there. That's one of them. But I don't like it to say that it's a default like that. But you can, if you want, go in and change that. But as it seems so far, we actually don't need this one for that. So what I'm going to do is actually do a Control-Z, and then I'm going to hit the yes, and then I'm not getting that error afterwards, right? So what other ones do we have in our design? And we've got these ones here, right? The two radio buttons. And so for those radio buttons, I probably have some sort of an event that's listening to that. And so what I'll do is click on this, and you can see radio credit card check changed. Okay, so that's in there. So that's definitely one of the ones that we need to have. I've got two more methods that I want to do. Those are not events, they're just method calls that we've got to create. So this will be private void, and it'll be disable controls. Okay, and put in my brackets. Now I've got one more that I need to do. And this one's going to be a private void and sorry, it should be, yeah, okay, enable controls. There. And I suppose I should just move those up, move this above. So I want to enable before I disable. So I'm going to save that. And I'm going to just do I'm actually going to build this and make sure nothing's wrong with it. Then I don't see any errors at all. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is actually go in and start coding out all of these different methods. Okay. And so if you need to take a break, this would be a good time to probably pause the video, go take a break, and then come back, and we're going to get into it. And right now we're in the code for the customers. We're in our form customers code, and we already created this original Boolean, right? Which is data saved, and we've set that to true. And you can see I've got this squiggly line, and the reason is because we've declared a variable, but we haven't used it yet. So it's just giving us a little bit of a warning that, hey, it's just hanging out here, and so far I'm not being used, so please use me or get rid of me. Okay, so first thing I want to do is I'm going to create these two customers. Okay, so it's just the customer load, and you'll see CBO names, because I'm getting their customers' names, and this is items, and it'll be .add. And in the brackets, we're going to say, let's say, Jane Doe. Okay, and I'm not going to do John Doe because I don't want them to get confused between the two. Okay, and then let's go down to the next line and say, same thing. And you notice what happened here, right? This got all changed when I put this in. And sometimes that happens. You have to be very careful with the IntelliSense. It's no different sometimes than, say, your spell check on your phone. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that the way it is, and then let's look at something for a minute. Why am I getting this error? Only assignment, all call, increment, blah blah blah, and new object expressions can be used as a statement. So show potential fixes. And so what is this really saying to me? Okay, if I look through all of these, it's giving me, some issues. Well, first off, one of the issues is I don't have the right syntax. Okay, so there, I've got this going on. So what about this? It's not item, it's items. So hey, this is a great case where spelling counts. Okay, so I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to do, what's a good one? We'll go with Tom Smith. Okay, as generic as we can possibly make it. So we've got Jane and Tom. Maybe we could have gone with Tarzan. Okay, so, that's good. We've got two names that we can work with in here. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And what does that do? It doesn't really do anything, right? And you can still see we've got that this warning because of that. It's just a warning. It doesn't really count. Okay, so let's go down to the next thing here. And we're saying, has the payment text changed? So this particular one I'm going to come back to. Okay, I'll come back to this one. And I think I will come back to this one as well. Because we'll need to see really a demonstration of what's going on there. So how about this one? Select payment clicked. Okay, so what is select payment clicked? If I go to the actual design, so what is that? What happens when we have this? So let's check that out. Before I do, I want to just make sure that everything still works just fine. And you can see this, that I have Jane Doe and Tom Smith as my two customers that I can choose from right now. Okay. Can I do anything yet with this? Save, payment, nothing. I can't do anything with any of these things. Okay. So let's go back into here. We know we have those two things, but now if we do select payment clicked, What does that mean? It actually means that when I select this, do I want to go somewhere? Do I want to navigate to a different place? Okay, I don't know. Haven't figured that out yet. But really, that is what I want to do. I want to select that button. I want to click on that button and go somewhere else. Okay, and so to do that, we have to do a couple of things. I've got to, believe it or not, instantiate this new form. So I'm going to do new FRM. And what are my options? I'm in customer, so that means I've got payment. Okay, and so I do this, but then what? We kind of create this thing, and now what? I've actually got to go to my form class and do payment form. Okay, and then set that. So this is the first thing I need to do. I need to, when I click on this button, actually instantiate that form. Okay, and so the next thing that'll happen is, and so forever going forward, I can just call this variable, right? Which is part of the form class. Okay, so now I'm going to do a dialog box. Let's see, dialog result is what I want, sorry, not a box. And I'm going to do selected. Does it give me selected button? No, because I'm actually making this, right? And this is why I try to start my code on the other side. So this is going to be selected button. Okay, and this is going to equal this payment form that we just created, and it's going to say show dialog. Okay, and so that's what's going to happen there. Now I do this, and then I want to create a condition, and I'm going to say if, sorry, that was pretty terrible. If, and check this condition. If selected button is equal to dialog result dot okay. Then what? Then what I want to do is go look at my payment text. Okay, so where are we now? This is my payment text, right? Sorry, that's in the event. I don't want to be in event. I want to be in here. So what I'm looking for here is to do something inside this box. And so when I go to the actual code and I do this, I take this LBL, and it's actually payment that I'm looking for. Okay, and it's .text. So I'm looking to get text put into this. All right. And what I'll do is I'll do this thing called payment form dot tag. Okay, and I'll end that off, and you'll see that I'm getting an issue here, and this issue is the fact that I have a problem with my type conversion. So this form payment is an object, and I need to convert this to a string, and so I just typecast this, and that will clear str. Okay, and that clears my error, but what are we looking at here? Right? It's saying that an object that contains data about the control. So there's a control that we've used, and it's from the other form. It's from my payment form. We're in our customer form, right? But I want to take something from there and update from the payment form into this particular text box. Okay, so right now that's all I'm going to do with this one. All right, I'm going to save it. And let's move on to our, what do I want to do next? I don't really want to do save button click yet because I haven't written the save data. So why don't we do the save data? Okay, so I go to save data, and I'm going to say CBO names dot selected index. Selected index right there. And we're going to set that to -1. Okay. And I believe -1, the default is kind of just a blank screen. I could be wrong on that, but we're going to set it to a -1. And so we'll do LBL payment dot text. And this we're just going to set to an empty string. Okay, so 2 quotations, leave that. Is data saved? Now we haven't done this one yet. Or actually we did. This is the global variable that we have at the top. So is data saved? And we're going to say true. Okay, and then finally CBO names, and we're going to focus on that. And all this does is really focuses the cursor on that particular item. Okay, so if I go up to the next one, I still don't have my is valid. So I need to have both save and is valid data. And I'm going to change this to uppercase too, because it bothers me. I like it to be camel cased and clean. So I've got a couple of conditions. So the first one is going to be this. Okay, if CBO names dot select index, selected index is equal to -1, right? Then what? Then what do we do? Then we're going to do a message box dot show. And we're going to type in here, you must select a customer. You must select a customer. Period. Okay, that's the first message. And what else? Because usually these messages, they're overloaded, so they can come in different, couple of different things. So we're going to do this. Entry error. It's a string again. We'll say entry error. And that's all. So then we'll go CBO dot names and focus again. Focus. All right, and then return false. So this is going to be a return false. So if it is equal to this, if it's empty. So what this is saying is, hey, the list of names that you have, -1 is setting it to empty. Okay, so if it is empty, if that's the condition, if it's an empty string or an empty name, then we'll do this selection. We'll do this comparison. Okay, so this isn't really going to be an if-else situation now. What we're going to do is say, if now let's say LBL payment dot text is empty. It's just an empty string. Then what? We're going to do a message box. So we'll do this, grab that, and then I can edit it because it's faster for you guys. I'll take this out. Okay. And we'll keep that to a false. And let's change this message. You must enter a payment. All right. And then finally, we're just going to enter a true. So I've got these two methods now that I can use to go up and do the saved. Okay. And so saved, I've got saved data, I've got valid data. And now that I have those, I can go to saved, click. I can click my button. And then I can do this. So if it's been validated, is valid data. Okay, if I call that function and it's valid, then I can go to here and say save data and just call that method there. All right. So I could have, I want you to understand, I could have done all this code inside this entire block, right? I could have done that and then did what we did last time, which was a refactoring. I could have refactored that afterwards and then created these two separate ones. And I only want to do refactoring if at some point I'm going to call this save method somewhere else again, and I suspect I will. So that's why you would break it out into different modules. But in this particular case, it was okay to do it how I did it. Okay. Is there any way to test this right now? And I'm just wondering if if there's any point in testing this. So let's see, because we could get it to break. I don't know. So let's go to start without debugging. If I select a customer, and what about selecting the payment? Okay, so this opens up. Do I have anything in here that I want to put in? Okay, what did I say from the last thing? What were some of the conditions I was looking for? I have to enter a customer, but is there anything in here I can type? I don't really see that there is. I don't, there's not much I can do in here. Let me cancel. I've done that. How about this? Is there anything in there? Nothing's functional. But the good news is everything works. Okay. So let me close that and exit. Can't exit because, oh, look at that. I must select a payment. So we know that the save button itself is actually working. But I've got nothing else that I can actually do. All right. So we're kind of just going in a circle here. So I'll close this down. Okay, actually, what I should have done was probably the easiest method ever in any kind of programming in the world I've ever done, is I should program that click button. So that's taken care of, but I'm not going to go in and test it. We'll use it soon enough when we go back in there. And so form closing. Okay, so what do we have when we're going to form close? We've got a couple of method calls that we've already done, but we've got some dialog boxes to do. And if we want to close, so when we run this, select payment, and we say we want to close, I don't know, it's the other one, sorry. Cancel this, but when I want to exit, now that works, but when we want to exit, are we going to get a box of any kind? We're going to get a dialog of anything at all. So let's go in and start working on this one. And so the first thing we're going to do is a comparison. And we're going to say, is data saved? And if it's not saved, we're going to set that to false. Okay. And then let's go inside here and say string message. And I want to create, this is just a message that I want to do. So it's a string message. Okay. And I think you probably know where this is going. We're just going to write the text for the message that we want. And we're going to say, this form contains unsaved data. This form contains unsaved data. Okay. And then we're going to do this new line and another new line. Okay. And then from here, we're going to concatenate this. So I can go down to the next line if I want and say, do you want to save it? Question mark. Okay. And then finish my semicolon there. Okay. So now I get into this dialog result. So if I say, I've got this dialog result, and I'm just going to call it button. Okay. And here we're going to do a couple of different things. Oops. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit the enter. Just wanted to go down to the next line. So I've got message box dot show. And inside there, I'm going to say message that we created just up above. And that should be a lowercase. Why is it not giving me the lowercase? We'll see. Message and then comma. Okay, so it switched over, and that is a little bit bothersome. And I'll tell you why. It's because all the stuff that I'm doing here, it was out of scope. It couldn't see it. So I need to move it into here. And that was really the error that I was creating for myself. Okay. And let's go to this here, customer. Okay. And then let's put a comma. And let me see about this here. Yeah, so that bracket is okay, customer. And then we're going to add another message box. We're going to say message box buttons, and it's going to be yes. Okay. It didn't like what I did on my typing. Message. Okay, I'm going to clear that out because I want to use my IntelliSense. Message box buttons. And it's going to be dot yes, no, or cancel. Okay, so I'm going to put in a comma, and I'm going to have another one, message box icon. Okay, and that icon, the one I'm going to select, I can choose all of these ones here, but I'm going to choose warning. Okay, and then I'm going to finish that off. All right. And now can we go down to the next line? Okay, so I'm still inside the first if loop. But I'm going to go give another condition. I'm going to say if button, if button, somehow I hit my cap locks. So if button equals dialog result of dot yes, then what? Then I'm going to go down to here and I'm going to do another thing. I got a couple more comparisons that I want to make. Okay. In this one, I'm going to say if is valid. If is valid data, then what? We're going to do... Okay, I could have just all done this under one line, but I do like to have my brackets and I like them to be in order. So I'm going to say... so that's why I'm going to do it. I didn't have to use the brackets in this particular if loop, okay? So it's going to be this dot save data. Okay, so I'm just going to call that function. And then I'm going to go to an else. Okay, and I've told you guys, I like to use as much space on my screen as is appropriate. Okay, and this one is just going to be this here. Okay, so this is where you have to understand what this event is. Okay, I need this parameter here. This is going to be used in this final dialog result. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say e dot cancel. E dot cancel. All right, and that cancel is now going to be true. But one of the things is in my else statement, so I've got that situation, right, where this is the if the data is valid, then save it, else then cancel the button. Okay, and then I have one more if right underneath that. Okay, and it's going to be like this. Let me see if I can scroll down. So I'm going to say if button is equal to the dialog box of cancel. Okay, where do I see it? Dialog result of cancel dot cancel. Okay, then I want to now do this e dot cancel cancel and set that to true. Okay, and use that semicolon. Okay, so there's lots of stuff going on here with what I'm taking is what are my selections that I'm selecting inside my dialog box when it pops up. Okay, and when I select yes, no, or cancel, what are the three things that can happen? So this is yes, else there's a no. Okay, and then if I select cancel, then do this. Okay, so that's really what I've got going on there. And I guess the best way to look at it is to just try and explain it or demonstrate it. So we go to here, start, and we're in this form. And it's taking a bit to do its magic. It's opening up. Now, you know, do I do this and nothing happened? I don't know. Which one were we talking about? So, it's important that, following along, you know which one we're talking about, right? So if I run this again, what I have to do, I can just hit this exit and it's just gonna whatever. But I need to actually have this. And now what happens if what about save? Okay, you must select a payment. What about exit? Okay, that exited. So really what we want to do, but we're not there yet, is we want to be able to go into here, make changes, make selections, do whatever. And then once that's there, bring in all that information and then exit. We want to try to exit. And if we've exited without saving the data, then we're going to get this dialog box that asks us. Okay, so if I try to exit this in the future, I need to get, so it's going to call this save data and it's going to call this invalid data, and it's going to give me an opportunity to make the right selection. But we're not there yet because we actually haven't done the other side. Okay, so we have a few more things we still have to do in here. Okay, so I've got these two at the top that I still need to go in and do now. Okay, and really what I want to do is this text changed, this payment text changed. Now that I have is data saved and I've done all that kind of stuff and you see what's going on there, now I want to go in there and say, okay, is data saved? And I'm going to set this one to false. Okay, just for now, right? And then the next one, the selected index change. And this one is data saved is set to false. Okay, and then I've got to look at the string and the label. So label, or sorry, LBL, and I'm looking for payment dot text, and I'm going to set that to just an empty string. All right. And so really this side of the whole house is done. And what I was doing with this one is the text changed, and have we changed the index of the actual text? So we're looking in this box and we're saying, hey, has anything changed inside this box? But for now, we have to actually go into this other one, make the changes, and then come back and test out those two situations. Okay, so I'm going to save that, and this might be a good time for you to go take a break as well. Okay, so we actually can, there is a way we can go in and test this all out, right? So if I go to here, maybe I change something, I don't know, I hit OK, change one of these, hit OK, nothing happens. I go over to here, and I save, you must select a customer, do this, and let's say, now I exit. It says this form contains unsaved data. Do you want to save it? Yes, no, or cancel. And so that's really what we were trying to get to. And consider that there's nothing populated in this payment method yet. So do you want to save it? No. Okay, so let's now go over to the other side of the house and start building out this one. Okay, because there's a lot to do in here as well. And first off, the one thing I do want to do in here is, you remember here, I could do the drop down and I had populated month and all that kind of stuff. I actually want to go in and clear that all out. Okay, and I think that was in here under list. So if I go to here, I think it's in list or index or something. And it actually helps if you're in the properties. Right now, I was in my events, and that's why I was looking for something I couldn't find. Okay, and so let me go to this and here, and these items, and I can delete all these. Okay, so I want to take those out of there, because I'm gonna want to hard code those. Okay. It's an option to us. We could have left it, but I want to hard code that. All right. And so when I go to payments here, let's go back to, sorry, in here, you'll see that all of those should have disappeared. Okay. And they did. So let's go back to here. I'm going to save that. And right at the very top, it says form payments load. Okay. So in here, what I'll do is I've got list and it should be let's see, list credit card type. Or is that label? Let me just check for a minute. Right. So this is what we're looking at right here, right? The different credit card. This is list credit card type. That's what I'm looking for. This one here. All right. So if I go to this, it's LST. So LST credit card type, and I'm going to do items dot add, just like I did in the other one, and this will be Visa. Okay, and I'll copy this 2 more times, and then I'm just going to change them. Okay, and so this is not Visa. This is going to be MasterCard, and this one will be Amex. Okay, and the next one I want to do here is I want to select that index, and this is when it's a blank. Okay, so it'll be list LST credit card type dot select select index, and we'll set that to 0. Okay, and where that is over in the properties, and we're looking at the selected index. It's right in here, but I really don't want to get into that yet. It's going to be when we start to share data. This is referred to as data binding. When we get into that, then we'll look at that. Okay, but we're still a couple of chapters away from that. And so we've done the list box here for that, but now what about the month and then the date down here? We have to go and figure out those ones. And so what I'm going to do for those ones is this is going to be a string. Okay, and it's an array. Okay, and we'll say month. So we'll make it months, plural, because that's what they are. And we do this bracketed syntax. And the first part we put in here is going to be, in quotations, is going to be select a month. Okay, and then 3 little dots. So that's a message that you're giving to your user. Okay, and then I'm going to just go in and put all of the days of the month. Okay, so this will be January. Okay, and then it's going to be separated by a comma. And I'm going to copy and paste and edit all of this. So copy. And this, and now I'll go in and edit all this, and I'm going to want to end it off and get rid of that final one there. Okay, let me go and edit that. So I've gone ahead, paused the video, and I've updated all of these. Okay, so this is what's happening here. And now I actually want to do a, we talked about it briefly last time, but this for each loop. Okay, and for each is again go with an array. And what we've got to start it off with the string. Okay, and typically the words do seem the same. So understand what I'm doing. I'm saying for each month in array, months in the array. So cycle through the months in the month array. Okay, so if that makes sense or not, then do this, months. So what I'm saying is go get me 1 from the entire array of months. Okay, and that's kind of how to think about that syntax a little bit. And it's bracketed, obviously. And what I want to put in here is now get this expiration month. So I got to call it from the label. I've got to call it from the actual combo box that I've created. So you can see that it's right there. There's only the 2. Combination or combo box expiration month dot items, okay, dot add, and then we just pass in month. Okay, so that's all I'm doing. This is just another way of doing a for loop, really. It's a little cleaner though. And then outside of that, we've got to deal with this selected index. And the way we'll do that is we're just going to say CBO expiration month dot select index and set that one to 0. Okay. So there, that's all we're doing for that little piece. But now, you know, we've also got to deal with some other stuff inside there. So I want to just make sure that you are aware of one particular issue. Okay, so we're coding out all this stuff in the payment form, and you know, we're opening up initially in the customer form here. But when I select this select payment, okay, the attributes that are associated with this particular form are happening right here when we load the form. Okay, so this is initializing everything when we hit that button and we actually load the form. And so this is why we're putting all that stuff inside this box. And I guess I wasn't clear about that when I started this, but that is really the point to this load function. And this is an event that we created in events. So you can see now I've got all those days. I've got select a month. Okay, but I don't have this, which is what I'm going to do next is the year. And no, I've also got these things, and they're set to 1 at a time only. And the default still is set to default billing method. So I'm going to cancel that, exit this. And so this load, if you remember, if we go back to our designer, you know, when we go to the actual form itself and we go to our event, this is what we did. This is where we're loading that form as soon as we hit that button. Okay. So I hope that's a little bit more clear as to why we're doing everything we're doing inside here. And so I could put a comment in here to, let's just say this, populate months. Okay. And then down here, I can say, oh, not that. I can do populate date or years. Okay, and so that's going to be handled in a different way. Okay, because we're now going to get in and use the functions. So we want our year. So to get the year, the first thing we want is our date time. So date time is the first one I want, but I want today. And I want the year. Okay, and end that off with the semicolon, but you know, great, I've got that, whoop-de-doo. All right, let's put that into some meaning that we can use, because I don't want to rewrite that entire code again. I want to assign all that information, the date and time of today's year, into an integer called year. All right, and so we'll go down to the next, and I need so expiry is always an end year. It's always going to be probably 8 years into the future. So we're going to say year plus 8 years. Okay, so for those of you who don't own a credit card, congratulations. But, you know, usually when you're filling out this stuff, you want to know the date of expiry of your credit card. And so it's going to be in years. So this is going to be end year that we're going to put that into. Okay, and that's what we're going to assign that to, is going to, oh, see, I missed the equal. So this is just going to be year from the line above. Okay, and now we know what the end year is going to be calculated based on this plus 8 years. And so that's how that's going to happen. And so we'll do this CBO expiration year dot items. And it's going to be add. And in the brackets, we're going to put a message sort of thing, select a year, ... to indicate that, you know, there's a message here. I was getting the error because I missed that thing, the bracket. So we're going to do a while loop here, and the while is just going to be a condition. So while the year is less than the end year, okay, which is basically saying, hey, we haven't expired. Then what? Then what I want to do is say CBO expiration year dot item. Items with the S. Add the year. Okay, so add the year. Finish that off, and then increment the years. So year plus plus. Just keep incrementing the year. Okay, and then I've got to deal with this index as well for the year. So CBO expiration year dot selected index, and we'll set that to 0. Okay, so we're saying that this one in the index, in the year index, is 0. And when we're talking about that, what I'm saying is the selected index for the first one is index 0 of an item, which is it's part of a collection, and hopefully we'll get to it and I'll do a better job of explaining the collection. Okay, so I'm gonna save that and let's test it out. Okay, select payment, and then I can drop that down. So you can see here, the current year is 2001 plus 8 years. Okay, and it's not 9. Okay, so it's displaying a total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So that plus 8 displays a total of 8 years. Okay, so I'll say that it expires February of next year. Okay. I wonder, can we do no, because I can't go any less than what I've got right now. But at some point you'll have to check that condition too, right? Because we've done this while loop. Exit. Okay, we've done a while loop that we checked that the year is less than the end year. Anyway, that's okay. We've got what we came for. So exit. And do I need to do these other methods? Yeah. Okay. So I've got other methods that I want to do next. And just like before, I want to do some saving of data. Okay, and the way I'm going to save my data is, where is it? It's right down here. And I'm going to create this string message, MSG, and I don't mean the stuff you shouldn't eat. String message, and I'm going to set this to null. It's another way of doing it. And I'm going to do an if statement. And inside the if, it's going to be radio button, RDO, radio button credit card dot checked. Okay, if that's true, if my radio button credit card checked is true, then what does that mean for me? So now what? And let me clean that up. I can do a control KD and it cleans it up. So I'm going to do this multi-line message. Okay, and I'll pause this, I'll type it all out, and then I'll go through it. Okay, and so what this message is going to be, charge to credit card, and then go down 2 lines, card type, and then get the card type that I'm looking for. So you can see here, I've got some text that I want to get from there. Okay, and I've got some more text that I want to get from my credit card. So when I'm talking about that, what I'm saying is my card type that I want to get from here, and I want to get the information, the text from my card number. Okay, and I want to get my 2 expiration dates. So when I select this and this, so what I'm trying to do is I'm making selections, and then I want to save this data. Okay, and that's really what I'm doing with this. And so my message is just adding this information, going to a new line, and then concatenating the data. So when I do these things and then I save that data, it's basically going to save it all into a message box that I can then go and see. Okay. Sorry, I'm looking for this one now. So that information is going to then be brought over to this side of the application. Okay. So that's what I'm really trying to get, is all the information from here and then bring it in and place it inside there automatically. So we're not typing into here, we're selecting it from the other side of the form. Okay, but now if you look at all that, well, what if I have a different situation? So I've got an else, okay, and within my else, I've got, I'm going to do an MSG, and it'll be a plus equals again, and it'll be send bill to customer. Okay, period, end out that, do a plus, and then just put two escape characters. Okay, and with those, I got to put them in quotes. Otherwise, they mean something different. Okay, so that's all I want to do for the saving of the data. But well, there's a couple more things I need to do still. And when we look at our actual form, what about this? Set as default billing method. Okay, I want to incorporate that as well. And so when I go down to here into my saved data, what I'm going to do is this bool is default billing. Okay, and not bullying, billing. And this is going to be like this. It's this here, check default. And so when I check that box at the bottom, and I'm saying, is it checked? So my check default is checked. And then if it is, make this as is default billing. And now notice the question, right? Is Booleans typically will start with an is because it's asking a yes or no question. So MSG is going to be plus equals this message here, default billing, colon, space, and then go to the other side and concatenate this is default billing. Okay, and then finish that off. Last thing I want to do again is talk about these tags. So this dot tag equals message, MSG. Finish that off, and then this dot dialog. I'm looking for dialog. Dialog result is going to be an OK, and dialog result here will mean OK. OK, and finish that off. Okay, so let's continue. The next one I want to do is this one. This is valid data. Okay, and this one is going to check for a bunch of different conditions. It's going to check for the credit card type, the credit card number, and the expiration month and year. Okay, so we've got a lot to do for this one, but I'm going to do the first couple, and hopefully we'll be able to, I don't know, do some copy pasting. So I'm inside my isValid method. It's a bool. And first thing I'm going to do is go for the very first condition, right? And is radio RDO is radio button credit card dot checked. Okay, did I check the credit card button? Is one of these two things checked? So if it's checked, good. That's the first condition that we want to do. And we're going to have to nest some more if statements in here. Okay. And because there's a lot, I'm going to just, even the book does this. I would do this too, but I'm just going to go through and do, so if like this. So I'm not doing if else's and all that kind of stuff, because that's not really the control structure that's appropriate to this. So this will be LST credit card type dot selected index is equal to -1. That's the first condition. And if I get that, what I want to do is put out this message. So it's going to be a message box dot show. Okay, and inside that, I'm going to say this. You must select a credit card type. Okay, so you must select a credit card type. Okay, and period, and I'm going to put a comma and then entry error. Okay, and this is say entry error. Okay, and then the next line to this is going to be LST credit card type, and I want to focus this. I'm going to focus this on that. Okay, and then the next line will be return a false. Okay, return false for this one. Now, the next thing after this one, I want to go into another if. So I want to do another if. And what's the condition here? So if my text credit card number dot text is really empty. Okay, it's got nothing in it. Well, that's going to be a problem too. All right. And so what I want to do is really quickly, I want to go and just sort of outline the logic in each of these and just kind of talk about the different, or just want to define them. So if, what's my next condition? So it's not my credit card. Now I want my CBO expiry month. Okay, if this dot select index for that is equal to 0, then what? Okay, and the next one obviously is very similar to that. It's going to be my, I don't know what I just did. Don't know what I just did. So I'll hit a Z, Control Z. Well, that was a scary moment for a minute. Anyway, I'm going to select all this, copy, and do the one for the month. Okay, or the year, sorry. So this should be changed to year. Okay, and the same sort of condition exists. Okay, and then the last thing, so I've got credit card number. So I should have 4 total. Okay, and then at the end, I think I'm good. So let's check out this second one. And I'm going to copy all of this because they're so similar, right? And I'm going to drop that into here. And this one is going to say you must enter a credit card number this time. Okay, and it's not a not really anything different, but this should be changed to text. Okay, this is what we're after is TXT credit card number and call the focus. And then this one down here, can we, yeah, I think we can paste this one as well. But the condition is we've already set that, and it says you must select a month. Right, entry error, and I don't want my credit card type. I want the month. We'll refocus that and do false. Take all of this, copy, put that in there, and this should be a year, and enter a year. Good. So, you know, we got through that one pretty quickly. And then up here, I want to tighten this up. And I know I've got my return value here. So I think this one's good. This one looks fine. So I'm going to save that. I don't see any errors in here. And what do I want to do next? So what's really left to do? You know, I've got to do the OK button. And the reason I didn't do the OK button previously this one here, it was because I didn't have the other methods done. And so for this one to hit my OK button, it's going to be just if it's valid. Okay, so is valid, is, okay, what's going on, is valid data. Okay, great. And I'll put this into here. Then I'm going to say this dot save data. Okay. And so that's why I didn't do these ones that didn't have the methods behind them already. Okay. What else do I have to still do in here? And I know I've got some down at the bottom. I've got these ones here, these last 3 ones. Okay. And credit card checked changed. And before I do those, I have to go in and actually do these ones here, because this one here is contingent on this situation. So this is going to be LST credit card type dot enabled, sorry, and I'll set that to true. Then the next one is going to be TXT card number dot enabled. Okay, and that I'm going to set to true. The next one is CBO expiry month, and again to enabled equals true. And then the last one is CBO expiry year dot enabled, and set this one to true. Okay, and then I'm going to take all of this, and now I do want to point something out. So this is enabled. Okay, and the way I want to disable those is just to change their condition here. So when I disable all of these, what I want to do is just go and grab everything here, and then I want to do false. Okay, that's all I want to do with all these. In fact, I can copy that and then double click it and paste it. Okay, so that's all done for those 2. And what that is saying is, let's go, what does enabled mean? Okay, so what this says is it's a control. It gets our sets of value indicating whether the control can respond to users' interactions, whether or not I'm allowed to actually interact with it. So it returns true if the control can respond to users' interactions, otherwise false. But the default is actually true. So the reason I'm doing this is because of this radio button credit card checked change. So let's go back up to here. So when I do one of these, if I check this one or this one, when there's a check of change, then I want to evaluate whether or not one of them has been changed, because the credit card is set to default. Okay, but if I go to bill customer or bill card, if I go away from the default, then I need to do something about that. And so all I'm doing here, this one's a small one too. If RDO and it is credit card, okay, if credit card dot checked, okay, so let's look at this. If credit card is checked, it's the default, then what? Then what we're going to say is enable controls. Okay, we're just calling that method that we did down below. And then else, and by the way, I only do this, this kind of syntax. I don't put the brackets in if it's very small lines like this. Okay, but in this case, so it is disable controls. All right. And then end that one off. Okay, so what else has to be done in here? Do we have any that are empty, that are missing? I don't think that we do. So I am going to save it and I'm going to build it. I'm going to do a build and just see. And it doesn't look like there's any errors whatsoever with my build. Okay. And remember too, I did make that change up front for form customers. That's how it allowed us to go back and forth. And I want to point one last thing out, because now we have multiple forms. I want you to understand that This program, again, is where main is. So any other programming language you've ever taken, main sits inside program.cs for C Sharp. So every program that I've ever worked with has a main function. That is like your grand central station. That's how you control everything else. And this is no exception. So main is always in here. And to move around, on startup, what's happening is we're saying instantiate this very first customer form, which is this. This. So create this. And then when we go ahead and we click this button, then this button goes and calls that the load method right here and initializes everything that happens inside this block of code. And then depending on what happens on the form itself, everything else here gets validated. Okay, so let's give this a try and see what happens, because this video is getting far beyond what's reasonably long and it'll take a minute. Okay, it's opened up. Let's pick a customer, Tom Smith. Okay, we've picked him, and then go look at his payment method. Can we save this? You must select a payment. Well, in order to save a payment, what about exiting? I get this issue. This form contains unsaved data, and the data that is unsaved is Tom Smith. Okay, do you want to save the data? Cancel? Okay, so that knocked me right out, right? Do that again. Do I want to exit? Do I want to save it? No. Okay. Go back for a third time. Let's see what happens when we do try to save it. Okay, I'm going to do this and hit save. You must select a payment. I can't save it because I haven't figured out Jane Doe's payment. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to bill customer, and notice all this stuff changes, right? This all no longer becomes enabled, because a moment ago, I just changed all of the enable versus disable. So when I go to bill customer, I can't do any of this other stuff here. Okay, and what it's saying is set as default billing method. Okay, this is the default method. What happens when I turn that off and I go to here? Same sort of thing happens again. But what I'm doing though is it really matters. So if I go to Amex, then I set default billing method. What happens next? Okay, I gotta select a card number. 1, 2, 3. We didn't sort of validate that string or anything. So okay, I gotta select a month. January. Okay, I gotta select a year. Okay, getting repetitive. And I'm gonna hit OK. And you can see here that now charge to credit card, card type Amex, card number, expiration date, and default billing type is true. So if I go back to here and I say, well, what's the default billing type? It's just telling me that credit card is my default billing method. So let me uncheck that. Let me go back over to here and then hit OK. And you can see here that it says send bill to customer. Okay, my default billing is true. Okay, so select payment type again. Let me uncheck that and then let's see what happens. You must select a credit card number. Let me go to here first. So that's not default. Okay, so default billing is now set to false. Okay, so I don't have any default billing for Jane Doe. Let's go back, do Amex, 1, 2, 3, select the month, April, select the year, okay, and everything changed there, okay. All right, so charge to credit card, that's the type, that's the number, expiry, and that is their default billing method, how they want to be billed by my company. Okay, so let's hit the exit. This form contains unsaved data because I didn't actually hit the save button. Do you want to save it? Yes. So before it exited, it saved it all for me. Okay, so this is going to be another marathon video. I do apologize, but at least it's more code centric than the last time. Anyway, what we've done is we've created 2 forms, we've linked them, and we were able to pass information back and forth. Now, keep in mind, I'm not persisting data. I'm not actually saving that into a database somewhere. we'll save that for another time. And now that we have two forms, I'm hoping in the next video I can show you how to do a splash page on how to show almost like your startup page when your application opens up. Okay, almost like your company business card. So anyway, I'll cap it off there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.